Our Heavenly Father, for the sunlight, for all the blessings, and for the opportunity that you're giving us to be in this amazing city. Please continue leading us. Please continue being here with us to make the right decisions. Please bless all the elected officials, the city workers, and all the community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jackie, any visitors' remarks? Okay, at this time, there's 3 visitors' remarks. I'd like to call up the first visitor, Mr. David Gillespie. If you'd like to come up, please. I believe the time is on the board, and welcome.
Thank you. Is it working? It's good to be back here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just had 5 things I wanted to bring up as a citizen of Los Fresnos that I think is important to, or things that I feel like the city council should consider or work on. Number 1 is, and just so you know, I've sent this to your emails for you to look at later to make it easier for you. Number 1, and this first one is a continuation of a concern I expressed last month, is allow citizens better access to decision makers yourselves through an email that city council members actually check and respond to. I've been very concerned about that. I send a lot of emails and I don't get a lot of responses, if any at all. And that's, according to the city website, that's the only way really to get a hold of you. Number 2, I feel like the city council, maybe the city in general, but I think it's the city council's responsibility here is to ensure that the park advisory board is visible on the city website, just as the other boards are. In my email, I took a snapshot, but there's no, that I can see, a part on there where it says who's on the park advisory board, when their terms are up, what the park advisory board is all about, the minutes that they've had for their meetings. So I would love it if you could look at that. Number 3, related to that, I propose having creating a recreation advisory board that serves the purpose of allowing appointed citizens, just like the other boards are, to work together to ensure that our citizens, especially our youth, have access to athletic leagues that are affordable, don't overlap in their seasons, focus on fundamentals, and are engaging to the community. Related to that, you could just combine that into the park advisory board. I know Brownsville has a park and recreation advisory board. As proof of the point there, I called the Boys and Girls Club today to see about their basketball league, which my son really wants to participate in, and I found out that the league doesn't start until February and goes all the way until the end of April, which would overlap with baseball. So now me as a parent, I have to choose or force my son to choose, should he do basketball or baseball, or kill myself trying to get him to every single game and practice that comes with that. Number 4, have a mayor-led effort to coordinate the city council so it can oversee the city budget and allow citizens to see who they should turn to when they have concerns about city policies, expenditures, plans, etc. This is similar to what state and federal governments do. They place representatives on committees to provide oversight on the executive branch. We've got a city council that's got places that aren't geographically assigned. So when I have a concern, I don't know who to go to. I call city council or I call city hall, and then it goes to just a general number. It usually ends up with Miss Moya, and then I don't know what she does from there, and then I get back hearing from 1 or 2 people. But it would be nice if I knew, all right, Mr. Escobedo oversees this, and this part of the budget. I have a concern about that, so I know to reach out directly to him, or likewise for Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Vinson. It would just make it a lot more accessible, I think, for citizens to know who to go to when they have concerns. My 5th concern is I think it's important to respond to citizens who not only send emails, but they take the time to attend the city council meeting and present their concerns. This is the third time that I've gotten up and expressed my concerns, and there's never any real follow-up unless I really engage it. And so I highly encourage you to look at my email that I sent today, and I would love to have a response, at least that you saw it and understand it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Mr. Gordon Capon, if you'd like to come up, please. Good afternoon or good evening.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Mark. Just wanted to come up real quick and a couple of thank yous. First, thank you for the appointment to the CDC. Really did enjoy the first meeting and looking forward to being a participant in that board. Also would like to thank the police department here. I know a lot of times they don't get compliments, whatever, but 2 times recently, they have had very fast response times. I had a neighbor lady walk into my house, tell me that her husband is going to kill her. And so first thing I do is lock the door, and you want me to call 911? She says yes. So we do, and I'm telling you, it was less than 5 minutes, probably 2.5, 3 minutes, and they were there. So that's awesome. And another time, other neighbors, I wasn't there, but they told me about it, they found some drug paraphernalia, called the PD, and again, a very fast response. Also wanted to recognize the water department. Saturday, after Thursday Thanksgiving, I come out of the house a little after 7 o'clock, and I see ducks and geese drinking out of the gutter in front of my house. And like, where's all this water coming from? Is it coming up the street? Look one way, look the other. No, it's coming from my house. And so I called Mr. Avdergo, and he instructed me to call the PD, and that they would get in contact with whoever was on duty for the water department then. And so yes, I would like to thank the water department as well for their quick response, incredible quickly response on that Saturday after the holiday. And so yes, I know you were having discussions at the last meeting about a person of the year for Los Fresnos, and yeah, I would like to throw my support to Mr. Avdergo for taking a call at 7:15 a.m. Saturday after Thanksgiving, and yeah, he helped me out. So appreciate your time. I'm not going to be able to stay. I've got another meeting tonight, but yeah, again, thank you to all. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on, the next visitor remark comes from Mauro Garza. If you'd like to come up, Mr. Garza, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, for giving me this great opportunity to introduce myself. I'm running for U.S. Congress, Texas District 34, which goes from Brownsville up to Kingsville, and a bit of Hidalgo County, a little bit of Edinburgh, a tiny bit of McAllen. My focus is the economy. I want to expand on our economy. I want to make us an economic powerhouse. I want meaningful jobs, meaningful work for our kids graduating from college or even high school, so that they don't keep leaving. Maybe they can stay here and say, hey, I want to make this a new Silicon Valley, the new Fertile Crescent. There's many ideas that I have when it comes to my business background has helped me to learn how to solve problems, the ability to bring people together. I want to be able to serve everyone. Another focus that I will be doing is on border crime and security, sort of to make our neighborhoods safer. Safer communities is what we need. This economic situation, along with safer communities, will also make us have stronger families, stronger bonds with our families. This election is coming up in February 20th, would be early voting. Those that do by mail, they have the opportunity to request that ballot if they qualify January 1st. The one interesting aspect about this particular election is that we have a choice. So I want to urge everyone to do some research and look at the candidates and see who would be able to serve the entire district, therefore Texas, the United States, in a really good capacity. I hope to, like I said earlier, represent everyone, and I hope to be of service to you soon. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we have a presentation of TDA Form A1024 CDBG Section 3 Goals and Concepts as related to the CDBG program and grant contract CDV 21-0095.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, a representative from Grant Works was supposed to be here, but they haven't showed up. So I will do the presentation to the best of my ability. Oscar will get it up there. And this is just part of regulations with the grant. That shows the grant, the number that we got, and the award was $255,084. It's the sewer line improvements on those streets. We've talked about this project quite a bit, and of course y'all approved it back a few years ago to put it on the list, and now tonight we will approve a bid for it. So that's the project. My finger moves too fast. The funds actually come through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and then ultimately through the Texas Department of Agriculture. Sometimes it looks like a state grant, but it actually comes from federal government. As a condition of the funding, the city of Los Angeles must comply with Section 3 of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968, which we do all the time, and to the greatest extent feasible. Recipients must direct economic opportunities generated by CDBG funds to the low and very low income persons. Just so y'all know, when we select projects, we have to select them in a low or moderately low income area, and that's where we can do the work. And so that's what we've done on this project. Concepts, Section 3 businesses have information to submit a bid or proposal of the project, and we push that a low economic development, low economic business can submit. We push that. Workers have information about any available job opportunities related to the project, and then there's a lot of definitions that go into that. This is what I was talking about. A company may qualify as a Section 3 business if it's owned by low-income persons, it's owned by Section 8 assisted housing residents, or 75% of all labor hours for businesses in a 3-month period are performed by Section 3 workers. So we track that. Prime contractor for sewer line replacement, including the service connections, utility relocations, and manhole replacements and installations. That's the opportunities for this particular project. You may qualify as a Section 3 worker if your annual income is below the county threshold for your family size, or you're a current or recent youth build participant, and then you register. That's how to register at those two locations. Workers that reside near the project location may also qualify as a targeted Section 3 worker, and you can see there where the target is, and it's right around Los Fresnos area, so that's available. The City of Los Angeles, we track all the hours worked on the project based on the 3 categories of workers: targeted Section 3 workers, or all Section 3 workers, and then all workers for the project. We have to track all of those as far as our record keeping. that just shows the different policies and the different regulations that we have to comply as part of receiving the award, and we do. Not only the city is involved in that, myself and primarily financial part, but also our engineers and whoever gets the job as a contractor has to comply with those as well. And so that's all of the items that we're required to present to you and show you. So not a vote, it's just a presentation of that information so that you have it, the public has it, and that's all.
Mark, real quick, just a question. When you say track, is that the company itself that'll be assisting us with the tracking? Is that you, Jackie, just so that we can get in a little bit more?
Mainly Grant Works and the engineering firm, which is Hanson.
Perfect.
They work together with the contractor, and they have to provide them with that data for each worker, and so they track each one.
Thank you, sir.
I review it, but I don't actually go out. I'm not the guy that goes out
Yeah,
there.
I hope not.
writes it
That's what I
down.
was hoping.
Thank you very much, Mark, for that presentation today. At this time, we'll move moving on to the consent agenda items. All matters listed are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless requested by a member of the city council. The items may subsequently be removed from the consent agenda to be considered separately. So at this time, we do have quite a few. We have 18 total consent agenda items. Is there any that the board would like to set aside? I know I want to set aside 14. And if there's nothing to be set aside, is there a motion? Again, I do want to leave 14 aside. If there's no other ones, if there's a motion to be made.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve all the consent items agenda except for item number 14.
I'll go
I'll
ahead.
second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. So consent agenda item 14 reads, consideration and action to excuse the absence of Juan Sierra from the October 16th, 2023 and November 20th, 2023 planning and zoning meeting. The reason I'm setting this aside, first and foremost, I know that planning and zoning and CDC are roles that are appointed, and oftentimes it's hard finding good qualified candidates, and those that have been serving, the attendance on most of those are in the 90s and in the 80s. And I've seen some people there since 2019, and they got over 90% attendance in the meetings, and I think that's important. I know that a lot of us have things to do, but when you're appointed, I definitely understand that there's family emergencies and different things that come about, and very understanding of that. But the reason this one stood out is because Mr. Juan Sierra has a 63% attendance. So that tells me that perhaps maybe he doesn't have time to attend these meetings, and he's made 10 out of the last 16 meetings. So that 63% is a very low turnout at these planning and zoning meetings. So I think that, today we have 2 candidates going for 1 spot, and I think these 2 candidates are highly qualified. And I definitely think that whatever board people are appointed to need to make more of an effort to be here. So I wanted to point that out, and I also wanted to make an action to not approve these, being that after the 3rd absence, perhaps we can move to somebody better, like one of these 2 that may not make it. So I didn't want to excuse these. I wanted to not excuse them. So that's my action.
Do we have, Mayor, a procedure on how to take them off these boards?
Yes, so there's, I did consult, 3 unexcused absences would be reason to move somebody else into the role. And being that we have 2 really good qualified candidates here, I think that perhaps at a 63%, maybe we need to consider, if he misses another meeting, maybe to consider a different option.
Have you reached out to Mr. Sierra before making your motion?
Well, I know he's not here today, so no, I haven't reached out to Mr. Sierra. I'm basically going off of the information that has been provided to us.
Maybe I'd recommend that you reach out to him and ask him, you know, and due to his absences, that you or something that you are considering.
Well, I know he's
as
been
a
out in the
way-
community because I see him out and about at
Well,
restaurants.
That's not what I'm
And so I'm
asking,
just
sir.
kind of figuring 63% turnout. All I'm saying is that 2 unexcused absences on the third one, you're out. And we got 2 really highly qualified individuals here.
No, I
I
understand that,
think
sir.
could
but
benefit from
like
being
I
on the
mentioned, you know, maybe you could call him, or as you say, you see him out in the community, talk to him, and just let him know this is a concern to you, and that maybe at the next meeting or absence or for whatever sakes or purposes you or he may not be able to attend. Obviously, barring, like you mentioned, family illnesses or illnesses of himself, maybe you should reach out to him.
I think my role would not to be reach out to him, but him to provide instructions as to why he missed. And again, by not approving these days off doesn't mean anything other than they're 2 unexcused absences. And if there's another one, then that results in that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with making them unexcused. I'm not saying anything other than they're not excused.
But on those ones, they have to be consecutive, no? Like 1 meeting after.
These are
2 meetings
consistent.
or 3 meetings?
Yeah, these are consistent. These are 2 consistent.
Okay, so
unexcused.
what are we-
All I'm saying is that I just don't want them to be excused, so that perhaps going forward, he still has another meeting he can come to. If he decides not to come, then that shows that he's clearly not making an effort.
So basically, what we're doing on this is if these 2 are not excused, then we have.
Yeah, he can still come and say, hey, you know what,
He
I'm
can still
having an
come and
issue.
kick-
And all we're saying is, okay, you've had 2 unexcused absences. Now you've given us a reason, so we have better, but by doing this doesn't take them off of the board. It just basically says, hey, you have been 63% of the time. Please make an effort to be here. Or make communication with the city as to why you can't be here, and then the city will tell us exactly why that person's not here. So by doing this, it's not saying anything other than, hey, they're 2 unexcused and you're at 63%.
Who is the president or the board chair of the planning and zoning?
Mr. Robbie Walls.
Robbie Wallstorf.
Have we reached out to Mr. Waldorf so he can make, you know, just so if anything, if like you said, I asked you and you said it wasn't your position, maybe Mr. Waldorf can do that?
Communication would
Well-
probably, I don't know,
I agree with you. I think it's his job to come to us. And if he's unexcused is not here to tell us why he was excused, I think I will make a motion to go ahead and
oh, so you want to second that?
I'll go ahead and second that.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye?
Aye.
Okay, aye. And all those who oppose do the same?
I'll abstain, ma'am.
Okay, motion carries. It was me, Gabby, Albert, and Terry Vincent. For unexcused and then, yeah, unexcused. I made the motion and then seconded by Albert. All righty, moving forward. Action item, we have action item number 1. Discuss and take action to award a contract for construction services to Jimmy Klossner and Sons Co., Inc., under Texas Department of Agriculture, CDBG contract number CDV 210095 for the base bid of $337,606, additive number 2 of $124,920, and additive number 3 of $86,700 for a total award of $549,226, contingent upon TDA approval of amendment number 1 of the total award of $219,000 will be paid by grant, and match funds of $332,26 will be paid by the local entity. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is the grant that we were talking about in the presentation earlier, and it's for various wastewater lines and manhole replacements. We had done a study back in 2016 showing all of these that needed to be replaced, and these are among the worst. We did additives on there because we knew that possibly go over because of the funds, but you had previously said for us to utilize the COVID monies that we have to do the cost overruns on this so that we can get more done. And so we can combine 52,500 our local funds, COVID funds, and this in order to do the entire project and get a lot of these done. And so that's our recommendation.
Mark, I know this is something that we discussed, and I know that you've
Yeah.
reviewed the budget, and we have plenty of funds to make this, and I know these repairs are much needed, and we're looking forward to getting that complete. Any comments from the board, or is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve action number 1, discuss and take action and award a contract for construction service to Jimmy Klosner and Sons Company.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Action item number 2, discussion and take action to award a contract for construction services for the 2020-2021 CDBG Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project to Jimmy Klosner and Sons Company Incorporated. Award includes additive number 1 in the amount of $84,187 and additive number 4 in the amount of $9,800 for a total award of $93,987, which will be paid by the local entity. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as we were going through this project, there's certain things that the grant will pay for and certain things they won't. On the sewer line that runs actually in 2nd Street between FM 1847 and Alamo Street. It's the one where you enter into Las Fresnas Dentistry or Wells Fargo drive-through. It's that street. If you'll notice, there's a couple bad places, especially towards 1847. That's because of the sewer line that needs to be replaced and the manhole, some manholes there. All that the grant will pay for is a 10-foot strip of asphalt. So picture this, the grant that you just approved from Alamo Street to 1847, there'll be a strip of new asphalt 10 foot wide with a pipe underneath it that's good and everything, and it'll just be in a patch. Our experience with patches is they don't last long. They start becoming problematic, and so since the grant won't pay for it, we asked, could we do that as an additive, save the funding of the 10-foot asphalt and repave that whole street. It needs to be repaved anyway. And so this is what that does. That part of it's $84,187. We have in our current budget under street projects $93,000, so we have more than enough to cover it. Additionally, this year's budget, well, I say this year, the year that we just completed in September, we're going to have excess funds of about $200,000 again, which is good conservative budgeting, so we could also use those funds. So that's my recommendation on the street part, is just do it right instead of then having to go back and tear up a street a year or 2 years later. I think it'll be better for all involved. The other piece to that is the sewer line on 5th Street behind, just right here as you pass the Lions Club on the left-hand side where Wet Paws is now. That sewer line will be replaced in the alley as part of the grant project. And so because those houses and businesses already exist on the north side, the grant pays to connect them back up. On the south side, 5th Street's never been developed. And so while they're putting that line in, we want to go ahead and use our funds to do the service line stub outs for the 9 lots that are there on the south side. One day we hope to develop 5th Street and it'll have houses there. If we don't do it now, then you have to tap into those 9 times into that line. It's very more costly, harder to do, and we do it and have the contractor do it now, has a stub outs whenever that does get developed. We just hook in there, the contractor just hooks into there, that's building the house or whatever's on those lots. So it's, that part of it's $9,800, and we feel like that's very forward thinking and something that we should do to set us up for a future.
Thank you, Mark. I know you're always trying to find ways to save money, and you're looking at long-term, and I think that for a small amount of $9,800, we can save ourselves quite a bit of money down the line. So thank you for that recommendation. Is there any questions from the board in regards to action item number 2? If not, if there's a motion to be made.
Go ahead, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve and award the contract for construction services for the 2020-2021 CDBG sanitary sewer improvement project to Jimmy Klossner and Sons. The award is for the amount of $84,187, and an additive number 4 in the amount of $9,800 for a total award of $93,987.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to appoint a member to the Planning and Zoning Committee, Place 2. Mark?
Y'all have two applicants that have applied, so I'll leave that up to y'all all the time.
I'll go ahead and make a motion for Jacob Wasonga to be in the Planning and Zoning.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Are you okay? Opposes? 1?
I'll abstain.
Abstain. Okay, so motion has been made. I guess motion carries. Okay. All righty, moving on to presentation and discussion on Little League and the use of the fields. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the Little League is here, and I will let them take the floor. And go ahead, Joe, you first? Or?
Stand in the mic so that everybody online can hear you. By the way, welcome.
Ran out of ink. I'm here with a couple other board members. This is Joe Vasquez, our president. He's going to go over some of the numbers and financials and that kind of stuff with you guys when I'm done talking about the fields. Also in attendance is Joe Aguirre. He's one of our board members as well. I'm going to start you out on page 2 of this pamphlet that I handed out to you guys. So this year, we finished the year with about $14,000 in the account. And the board has spent $1,000 on field improvements, which went into irrigation and some new red clay that went onto the Lopez Reagans field for our older kids. That's a new league that started 3 years ago that's grown from 1 team to now this year we're expecting 3 to 4 teams in that age of 13 and 14. And we also bought 2 batting cages that were about $4,500. The second one got delivered today. We still got a little work to do with those. The hard part's coming now when the board members get together and go put their time in and assemble those. We also voted to spend up to $1,200 on the new elementary school mini season program that Joe's going to talk about here in a minute. But This is just some pictures of what we've done to the fields in the last couple months. Lopez Reagan's field alone got overseeded and new compost brought in, which was donated by Nine Kids Compost. We also got a landscaping contractor that came in there and leveled the field, flattened it, and spent 168 man hours of their own time with tractors and equipment to get the field in better shape than it's been in the years past. The city has paid for a new infield skin on the softball field, as well as a new irrigation system. So we're going to see that really coming to life this year. We're looking to bring up our girls' numbers in softball. Since COVID nationwide, the girls' numbers are off by more than 30% state to state, and some states over 50%. So we're looking to improve that, and we're hoping that just seeing that the fields are better, that they are improved, that we're getting there. So a couple things. If you turn to page 1 and actually look at the grass and what it looks like and what the city of Los Fresnos' field looks like, that's done by volunteers. That's done with people who care about the 460 plus kids in the Little League. There's no people that practice out there that only care about their 12 kids on their team, and then they go play all their games in Edinburgh and Brownsville and all that, and they just come and want to tear up the field and practice and practice and practice and wear out the fields. This is done by board members. That's first priority is the 460 kids that belong to the Los Fresnos Little League. Now, these fields take a lot of care. The Little League practices on these fields for 1 week to a week and a half right before All-Stars, just to try to give our All-Star team a little home field advantage. We don't wear out our own fields with practicing on them. And our guys and our team turn them into this. This is July. This is after 3 months of baseball games, 2 to 3 games a night, 6 days a week. But it takes the board members and it takes setting them aside for practicing on them with football teams and practicing them on them with soccer teams and practicing them on with travel baseball teams so that you can do what it takes to make these fields great. What it takes to grow a league from 190 kids before COVID to over 460 now, that we've got a good board and we've not let people wear out the fields and trash them and practice on them. That being said, it's never ever been the Little League's position or my opinion that those fields aren't open. They should be open, so if your sons or daughters want to go play pickup baseball, or you want to go down there and throw baseballs with your kids, it's a city park, it's a public field, go have fun. If you want to organize a softball game or kickball tournament, what was the name? Page's Place came into town?
No, Maya's
Love. Sorry, Page's Place, something else. Maya's Love came into town, and board members were out there. Board members striped the field. Board members cleaned up the fields. Board members got them ready to go. We helped run their concession stand. We donated all their stuff. We're there for the people of this community. And we want to see the fields be used for what they're intended for. And that's not practice. That's baseball games. That's fun. That's having a good time out there. But it's not to just go out and trash them and turn around and go, hey, it's the city's responsibility. I promise you the city does not have a budget to take care of the fields the way we do. That being said, around the city, I've gotten several calls about, hey, you know, the Little League, it needs more fields, so you guys should have your tournaments and that kind of stuff in Laureles Park. We could. We already use Laureles Park. Our T-ball division and our coach pitch division, with the amount of kids we have, all play out there during the week. Also, if you read right here, We host the All-Stars. Over 3,000 people came to our town in a week-long period. I don't want them driving out to Laurellis Park because they cut off 510 when they come from Harlingen and Edinburgh and everywhere else. I want them stopping at my restaurants, my Tapias cafes, my Whataburgers, my Dollar General here in town and grabbing waters and snacks for the kids. I want them to spend their money inside the city of Los Fresnos and support our businesses. The city supports us, the CDC supports us. We want to keep that here, local. We've got kids that come from Rancho Viejo, down as far as 510 and all that. This makes it a very central location. Laurellis is not central to anybody unless you live on the very north side of Los Fresnos. So that's my presentation about the fields and what we do to them. If you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I try to do my best to take care of them.
Mark, thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment before what we're talking about is we get a lot of requests, and some of it's from y'all, with people to use the fields for things other than games. It's always been open, church group, a family reunion, those things that I think a lot of us remember as kids happening that are still available. What becomes problematic is whenever it's if I take a baseball team out there and we're just doing practice, we're not doing game conditions, we're doing practice, and we hit grounders. By the time I finish hitting grounders to my team and then move to another location, that location that they just come from has no grass left. And all of the money that we have spent, and our guys spent, the CDC helped pay for, the Little League group, all of their volunteer hours is gone because of that. You don't have that problem whenever you're doing game conditions. Another request we have is for football teams to practice on there. It does the same thing. When you line up a football team and you got the offense, you got the defense, and after 3 or 4 plays, there's no grass left. It just tears it up. Unfortunately, we don't have artificial turf. So that's the reason why we need to find other places to maybe divert some questions. We're looking at some lighting that can be done at Memorial Park. We're waiting to hear back from AEP how they can help us with to light up some of those areas so that the baseball team that has a winter league, I guess it's all year round now, but those can have a place to practice. A football teams that are around can have a place. So we're looking at other alternatives. We just wanted to say and help to maybe, hopefully you can understand the reason why this really isn't the place to do it, so that we can keep those fields look good, because when especially the All-Stars, they come in town and they go, wow, this is really nice. And that's what we want, so.
Mark, with these fields, first and foremost, thanks for all the hard work that everybody puts into it. I know that this gentleman and the board is very passionate, and we're passionate. But those fields, I mean, when I was a kid, those are the only fields in town. And look at the population that's expanded here. So getting some access to more fields here locally, like the lighting you talked about, and maybe looking for some more spots that we can put some of these fields, I think will take care of all these issues. But it's hard because you only got those 2 or 3 fields that are there to serve as a huge community. And of course, everybody wants to even hit grounders, you know what I'm saying? But the problem is all the work and effort and money that's put into it. So I can definitely see the frustration, and hopefully we can get this resolved here in a couple of years where we'll have some more places for people to play ball and have fun.
So a couple of years back, we actually came and did a presentation for the CDC, and we told them we wanted to give them a problem. We wanted to give them a good problem. And that problem was numbers. You know, this last year we had 462 players, all ages from age 4 all the way to 14. Brownsville West, which is the biggest district or league in pretty much the whole valley except for Edinburgh, had 13 players more than we did. So that tells you that we're growing, and we're just growing faster than we can actually keep up with. So this year, we're projecting to have at least 500 plus coming in. One of the things that we're actually doing this year to promote softball is we started with implementing a softball program with all the school district elementary schools. So 3rd through 5th grade, pretty much, I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with what the school district does with volleyball and basketball. They have a tournament, 1 week, 2 week tournament that they'll do just to introduce girls, especially the girls, to volleyball and to basketball. So we got with the district, AD, and with Coach Molina, and we came up with a pilot program. Okay, the Little League is supplying catcher's gears, softballs, bats, helmets to the schools. The schools are going to be getting a coach or volunteer that's going to be coaching that group. Dora Romero example has got 20 plus girls. Okay, so that's 2 teams right there. Right now we have 9 teams for this pilot program. So we really want to bring the softball back, and what we're trying to do is work together with the school districts and see what is it that we can do, or how can we promote this so that we can be able to show what the Little League has to offer, not strictly just baseball. And that was one of the biggest things why we wanted to do the improvements on the softball field, so that they can see, like, we're supporting both. It just takes time. So that was one of the things that we're doing with that. The other thing that we had brought up, or an idea, was we would like for the Little League to be able to get, and this is something that you guys would look into also, is we want to see if we can, or we're able to rename or to name the 2 fields in the city park. What we're looking for is a couple of things. We would like for the community to nominate somebody that's made an impact as a board member, as a coach, but we're talking about back in the 50s, the 60s. Up to this point, nobody has still been able to tell me how long has Little League been in place here in Los Fresnos, but it's very long. So we would like that would be the first step, is to nominate. From there, we will review the nominees, and then we will create some type of a poll so that we can have the community vote on that, so that we can be able to get the names on there. The other thing is, once that is pretty much finalized as far as the polls goes, and we see which 2 names are going to be there, is how long are we going to keep the name up for? Right now we're looking for at least 10 years. That way I know it's a process, and I know it's going to take time, so we would like for you guys to consider, or maybe look at what would be the process for us to be able to do that. And like I said, it's just a recognition. We understand, just like the old concession stand that we had there, that was, for everybody, it was, it bring you back to your childhood, So we want to do some type of a recognition for community members, people that have been active with Little League, for years, and that have really made an impact. I look at, Mr. Kitterman mentioned right now, we have travel teams, we have all these other programs that are available, or the youth programs. But if you look at it, a lot of times, I even see it on major league players. What made a difference on their life? Little League. So we want to do the same thing. We want to recognize that, a person, a coach, somebody that made an impact in years past to the community. And, I think that it's a well-deserved recognition by naming a field after them, and that would be one of the things that we'd like for you guys to consider. I know that was one thing that we were having a question on.
Right, Mr. Joe, sorry. I think we gave you all the permission already last meeting. So the procedures, I guess, aren't up to us now. It's now for you all to come up with. Is that correct, Mark? And we just approved the name?
You agreed to allow them to go through the process, but y'all would have the final say in it. You wouldn't allow, you know,
I know last month I recommended, maybe you all could create a committee. I was, kind of, create a committee, go through the process. Everything that you guys are discussing is amazing, right? Somebody who helped start a program, a softball program years back in the early 2000s. What you guys are thinking of doing with the girls program is going to be amazing because you will get feedback from the parents. I can tell you when we ran that softball program, we had 700 girls. So expect with your boys and the girls program, you might be hitting 1,000 players, which is amazing. But with that, yes, you guys need a lot of help. When it comes to naming the fields, yes, definitely be cautious, right? Obviously, every time we're naming anything on the city, whether it's a road or anything else, be diligent on how it happens. That's why last month I recommended doing a committee, or so that it doesn't come down to just you all and everything comes on to you all afterward. And yes, appreciate getting the public involved. It seems like you guys are going the right way. Just take some steps. There's no rush to it either. All right. Once you create that name, like you said, it could stay there forever. It could stay there for 10 years. So at the end of the day, I feel wholeheartedly confident, and you guys can do the job. I know you guys have the passion for it. But just be considerate of all the needs and the people that may also want to be part of that, who may not be part of your group yet.
Great. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
No, just a quick comment. I just wanted to congratulate everything that you guys are doing. I see the fields. I know all the effort that you have put on. And I really like the idea of getting the community involved to put the name. So kudos to you all. Anything that we can do, we're here to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Also, I wanted to mention a couple of things. When you say that Little League, so what you're saying here is that you're gonna only allow Little League to use that field, or you're gonna use the football, somebody wants to play football there, can't use it, or what's?
In my opinion, if a football team wants to use a baseball field for practice, they're in the wrong spot because baseball fields are not designed for football practice.
I understand, but when we're talking about the public park. We're talking about the park here. So what you're saying is that you just want Little League and you don't want nobody else in there? Just the Little League itself?
Absolutely not. That's absolutely 100% not what I stand for. I want those parks open so that kids can go play. I want your son, your grandson, I want you guys to be able to go down there on a Saturday and play baseball and have fun. And if you want to have a family picnic down there, go out there and use the baseball fields for what they were meant to be used for. Go play some softball, go play some baseball, go have a round of catch with your dad. Those kind of things. I don't spend all the time working on the fields just for the Little League kids. I love driving by there and seeing kids play catch and seeing a dad out there throwing with his son, trying to teach him how to get his legs right. It's not meant for just Little League kids. But if you put football players out on a baseball field with their cleats, they will absolutely destroy the fields.
I understand. We spent like $250,000 last time playing and replacing the bleachers and fences and all that there in the park, didn't we?
Yes, sir. That's why we're having this discussion is people want to practice on the baseball fields. They're not practice fields. They're game fields. And so if you want to have a game, they're open for anybody. Tomorrow, tonight, we can open them for anybody to do that. What we want to make clear is that when you do practice, it tears up the fields because when you practice, you do it different than a game setting unless you're doing a practice game, which is okay to do. But if you're out there hitting grounders, throwing catch with your whole team, it's going to tear up the grass. If you allow a baseball team, a football team, or a soccer on there, it's going to tear up the infield. It's going to tear up the outfield, and then we have to go spend that money again. So what we're asking is, let's use those for what is supposed to be baseball or softball, but for game conditions. Practice, we can do that somewhere else. The same goes for football. We have a need for a place for them to practice. We don't have that. That's what I was saying about the lighting at Memorial Park, because if they mess up the grass there, it's okay, because it's not a playing field. And
I know the school district has many designated areas where a lot of the Little League teams practice already. We could just make a map available for practice fields. I don't know if something like that we could post up. I don't know if it needs to be posted up or be put on the Little League Facebook page
You have
or.
to submit a form. To the school district, you submit a request form, and you have to pretty much get a location where you're gonna be, and you submit it in for, once it gets reviewed, it gets approved. We do it every year for the Little League. We'll submit it in, we show the spots available, example, behind the football stadium, Leo Aguilar, the one on Whipple Road access. There's plenty of space for us to be able to use there. Right now, we also have, we've actually used, even next to the fire department, the old fire station, there's a small area for T-ball. So, behind on the rodeo grounds, there's different areas that can be used. We just have to make sure that everybody is the same thing. We have to follow procedures, request a permission, and if it's granted, then we're able to use it.
Mark, maybe if we get together with Dr. Salazar and see if we can make those fields available onto our webpage, or where people can get that form from the city. I'm not sure how that would work.
But that's not the problem. The problem is lighting. The problem where a field into practice is not at all the problem. There's all kinds, rodeo people have expressed interest, say you can use the whole 30 acres, but they don't have lights. And so they want to use those two fields that have lights, and then we tear them up. And so that's the problem, is why I expressed about what we're trying to do at Memorial Park, is to create some places there that can be utilized that have lights, that we can, it's already ground that doesn't have anything on it, so they can use lights. The other thing is to look at other options on property to be able to, for the city to have. Does that make sense? I mean,
So, yeah, it makes perfect sense, coming from the experience that you guys have done on those fields and working on them myself many years ago with a lot of friends of mine that have kids that have grown up and are out of the system. Understand 100%, and I understand the frustration. I think for me, on my end, is how can we make it to where they become only performance fields? Yes. Practice fields, the lighting is always going to be an issue, especially in the fall, and there are some more teams that are playing fall ball, and they do get out at 5 o'clock, and the sun does go down at 5:30, so that does make things a little difficult for parents. Coming up with lighting, Mark, I think it would still will fall into the same problem that those original fields were in terms of they're still going to get the use, they're going to get torn up, they're going to get nasty. At that point, do we have to go through the whole process of keeping them up? If Little League is taking care of those two fields, if we do that lighting at Memorial Park, I think that now comes back to us as well.
we're not going to build fields at Memorial Park. We're going to have some lights, and people can utilize the ground. If they want to utilize it for soccer, they can utilize it for soccer. If they want to utilize it for football, they can utilize it for football. If they want to utilize it for a baseball practice, they can do that. We're trying to create areas that we don't have to maintain like you do a playing field.
How about Laureles? Why, I know there's lighting over there. I know the county is starting to talk about maybe lighting up some of those soccer fields over there, maybe making an emphasis of them going and practicing that way. I don't know how much you guys have worked on those fields. I know they were left abandoned for many, many years, speaking because we pretty much abandoned them when our kids grew up, right? And nobody took it over. Nobody took it over for many, many years. So I do appreciate the work you guys are doing out there because it did take a lot to get it started with the county. But at that point, yeah, that was our main issue. There's 2 fields that are lighted, one that wasn't. You got soccer fields that aren't lighted. County's also working on that. I know it can be a little bit difficult. But we need to get those fields, those Little League fields, if they're structured as performance fields now, if that's what we're doing right now, then yes, we need to find that option. Maybe we could do a little bit of lighting, but there's already a field over there that has lights, or 2 fields over there that has lights. Can we just kind of shuttle them that way?
Just to be clear, you guys don't have any issues on practicing fields, right?
No.
No.
I personally, my son's 14. He's been in the league since he was 6. I practice over behind the high school. I've never had a practice, even with my all-star kids, on these fields here. I know that 3 or 4 years ago, there was people practicing on it before we put the work into them, but now we banned that in Little League. As far as Laureles Park goes, I'm not sure the exact dollar amount of the grant that they have, but I have met with the architects and on that project. It's going to GMS right now. It's at 95% plans. They are going to redo the 2 soccer fields, the main soccer fields, which if you drive by it right now, it looks like there's 40 fields because they got them set up in little practice areas. I've met with them and gone through their whole irrigation system to show them what needs fixed over there. They are going to develop that 3rd field. I don't know for sure if it's getting lighting. I know it's getting a new infield skin and it's getting crowned out. And there will be new bleachers put there and dugouts on that. So there will be 3 usable fields there. Laureles Park falls into a little bit different of a category. We do allow practicing at Laureles Park because we use it for our younger kids. And we drag it with drags and it's all grass infield. It makes it easier to take care of. It's still a ton of hours to get done every year right before the season and maintain it just through our season. We do work with the county, and there are some other leagues that practice out there after Little League's done. And we work them in and try to work with them. Again, everybody's fighting for lights. But eventually, I think construction, best guess, they're going to start March, April with actual breaking ground out there. I would see you're about a year away from right now from completion of the lighting out there. But yeah, if you could take Memorial Park and just put lights up, and if there's just grass that grows, in order to practice any sport, baseball, I can tell you right now, we don't have backstops all over. There's 3 little backstops over there behind the high school. I don't ever use one. I drive out in the middle. I let the other coaches have what they need. We don't need a backstop. We don't need base paths to run our drills and do our practices. So if you can get lights and just an open field that can get mowed, it'll last and people will move themselves around so it's not wearing out the same spots.
I just have one comment. I was part of the CDC when you guys got some of the money. I want to congratulate you guys on using that money the right way. And I appreciate what you said, keeping everything here in Los Fresnos because that's what supports the CDC, it supports the city, and keeping it here, it's basically what we need. And that's why the CDC supports you too. So I want to just congratulate you on that, and I'm sure Mark will find a solution for the lighting for the Memorial Park.
Well, the CDC, I couldn't be more grateful to. And for the people who aren't aware of what the CDC did for the Little League, the Little League was beyond bankrupt. And the CDC stepped in after COVID and bailed them out And there was a new board that got together about that time. And without their help, there wouldn't be Little League in Los Fresnos. And we sure appreciate everything you guys do, not just on the parks and stuff like that, but with all the different things that you guys have done as a city council and as a CDC. And the school district as well, if there's anyone here from them.
Thank you. I also want to thank you guys, for everything you do. But the only situation that I see here is that it's hard for me to swallow that from a public park to become a private park, That's the way I see it, that you guys just wants to use a park and you're not. I still feel that if somebody wants to go play, like I was asking Mark, wants to go play out there, they're not allowed to go play because if we would have been just like, for example, you say on the time where they play Little League, and then you have no problem, somebody else to come and use the park, I have no problem with that. But I have a problem in trying to say, for you guys to say it's a private park, it's no longer a private park, it's gonna be used by you guys. And that, while we use all these funds we have used before, it's so.
Juan, we've never said that. There's never been a discussion over the last 30 minutes where we said it's a private and only used by Little League. In fact, he said and I said, he said twice and I've said at least once, and now I'll say again, if anybody wants to use it to play a game, they can do that anytime. We just don't want to allow practice. But Little League doesn't practice there either. So we're not forbidding anybody to utilize it for a game, for competition at all. A church group that wants to come and utilize it, fantastic. Let's sign it up. Let's make it happen. I would love to see that, like a church league to use it, but not for practice. That's a completely different thing when we're talking about practice versus a game. So it's not private for them. It is during their league season, but the rest of the time it's open. And even during the league season, if somebody had a family reunion or a church group or somebody wants to utilize it, they would work that in and say, hey, you can do it on this day's open and you're welcome to use it. So I think you're seeing something that's not there because it is open. The practice is not.
I am, yes, like I said, you're right. I got you what you're saying and all this stuff. But what I don't want is that, let's say tomorrow, 2 or 3 guys are playing out there, playing ball or playing football in the park, and they go tell them, hey, Sasuke, you can't be here because we just fixed the fields.
I think that what he's mentioning is that no game field should be used for practice. That's the point, because they're used for games, just for the games. And even them, they're practicing in other areas, not there, because they're not used for that. We and you all put a lot of money, effort, volunteer hours to have that feel how it is in order to have a successful games.
I understand that. I understand what you're saying. So for later on, we're just gonna, for the walkthrough that we build, the bicycle trail, we're gonna start saying, oh, if you got 1 tire, not use it. Only just the
No, but
that's what I'm
but
saying.
they're not putting thousands of dollars on those. I mean, what they're doing is they're putting a lot of heart, sweat, blood, and tears, and working out there and money for a bunch of cleats to throw football out there and mess it all up and then take off. And they did all that work for nothing. So they're saying you can use it, just be mindful of it. That's all
Okay.
they're saying.
Yeah, it's 100%. I think we're all kind of on the same page. The only thing now is, okay, so if there's 3 kids that end up showing up to throw football in the outfield,
Let them play.
I think that we're going on and on and on the same thing. The last thing that we should he already did the presentation. The point is that no game field should be used for practice. If somebody else wants to go, if I want to go and play with my boys, I'm allowed to do that. And period. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Moving on to action item number 5, for the sake of time, consideration and action on the selection of a mayor pro tem for a one-year term. I know that the current mayor is Luis Gonzalez, and, I know he did that, and I know that the time is up again. And, I know that prior to Luis, it was Gabby, and, I think that the mayor pro tem is there to back up the mayor or to go to certain events where the mayor can't go. And I've been fortunate to pretty much attend all the events that have been out there. So looking forward to a nomination here.
As a past mayor pro tem, I do appreciate it, Mayor, because you have been at all the events, so it kind of kept my schedule a little bit empty. So thank you very much on that end. I didn't have to worry much about it.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion only because I look at attendance as being very important to me. And I know that Albert Escobedo just joined the board, and I'm excited to have him on board. So I'd like to nominate Alberto Escobedo as mayor pro tem for this one-year term.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Thank you for your mayor pro tem, Commissioner Gonzalez. Moving on to discussion and possible action to choose an individual for the 2023 Citizen of the Year program. Any questions or comments? Or is there a motion to be made?
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve Mercedes Cantu.
I'll
second
that
that.
motion.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye. Unanimous. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Mercedes Cantu, 2023 Citizen of the Year. Super excited. Moving on. Consideration and action to reappoint of Gene Daniels as municipal judge.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as you see in the notes that Mr. Daniels been judge for about 30 years, doing a very good job, continues to do. He expresses his regrets that he couldn't be here. He had a prior commitment that has him away. As our ordinance reads, it can be an appointment for 1 to 3 years, 1 to 4 years. We've done 1-year appointments, 3-year appointments. He has asked that we appoint for a 4-year term. I concur with that, and so that's my recommendation, is for a 4-year term.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to reappoint him for the 4-year term for Judge Daniels.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action, submit nominees to serve on the RGV Partnership Board of Directors.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as you can see on the packet, it's really confusing if we were to choose individuals. So my recommendation is for you to approve their recommended slate. They're trying to do good as a Rio Grande partnership throughout the valley, and that's their recommended slate there on packet page 170. So that's my recommendation. It makes it simple.
I'll motion to submit the slate on page 2 of that form.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve the first reading of AM ordinance of the City of Los Fresnos, Cameron County, Texas, amending Chapter 48, zoning Article 2, District Regulations, District 7, additional standards, subdivision 4, signs, Section 48, 275, signs permitted by zone, off-premises advertising, and F, changeable electronic variable message signs, and repealing all ordinances and part of the ordinance in conflict thereof. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in the old part of town, what I consider the old town part of town is from about O'Reilly's to here at the Lions Hall. The density in that was such that billboard signs couldn't be put up even if you wanted to because of the way the lots were set up. And as the town has grown, both now starting to grow east, but mainly west, there's more open space, and the development happens a lot different than it used to in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So that's why you see the big change. As you get past 1575, where the old school area is, you can see there's some billboards there. Those billboards were there when it was county area. It wasn't in the city limits. And so all of those are grandfathered in. We've had some people request that billboards be allowed instead of just forbidden. I'm not sure if that's the right word, forbade. Anyway, I think not allowed. How about that? And so we looked at it and looked at different ordinances from different cities, and we came up with this, and it allows one every 3,000 feet. In other words, each one has a radius of 1,500 feet, and so it would allow a few to be put up. We would still, the way we wrote the ordinance, is not allowed it in that area between about O'Reilly's and here at the where the drainage ditch is by the Lions Hall, and then also along 1847 from about 10th Street to Whipple Road, because again, it's very dense development. As it goes out, well, then you could start allowing that, but you would not be able to do one more than every 3,000 feet. And what that does is helps prevent it to be so cluttered. If you've gone into some places, and actually our new part of town where it was county, is pretty full because there was no regulations on that. So we would like to offer that. It still protects the area that needs to be protected, but it opens it up for some signs to go up in certain places. The other piece of that is, one of them is the billboard signs, the other is electronic changing. In the old days, you couldn't even do that. Now with electronics and available with electronic changing signs, we're following the laws and regulations that TxDOT uses. No more than 8 seconds. You don't want it to go too fast because motorists are try to catch something that they shouldn't and take their eyes off of the road. But they've done studies, and 8 seconds is the norm. So that's in the ordinance, and so I'm open for questions. It just open to allow a little bit more flexibility.
Mark, we can use these for Amber Alerts and stuff like that too?
Yes.
What do y'all think? I know that the only
As well as, Amber Alerts, but also, if during hurricane season, we get a hurricane storm, we need to
Inform the public.
inform public that, hey, you need to evacuate now. You can do that.
Mark, sorry, can you go ahead and where exactly would we consider this zone again? I'm trying to picture that in my head and it just kind of went.
It would be outside of those areas. So basically it could be along that area from starting O'Reilly's back to about 1575 where the school area is. As you get further there, they're already there. So it would, and then if you put one, it would only be one or two because you would have the 3,000 feet spacing that you would have to comply with. Either end of town, over on this side of town somewhere. If you did one, you would probably just.
So coming east, let's say, would the Lions Club be able to put one up for fundraising purposes or others?
Yes. That area outside of once the drainage ditch there would be that area. That's how the,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion for consideration and action to approve the first reading of ordinance of the City of Los Fresnos, Cameron County, Texas, amending Chapter 48 zoning Article 2, District Regulations, Division 7, additional standards, subdivision signs, sections 48-275.
I'll second that. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. All those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Action item number 10, discussion on reported speeding on residential streets. Mark, this is a very, very popular complaint we get.
Yes, sir. Wanted to address some things so that you have it in your brain, and when you're laying there at night and can't go to sleep like me, you can come up with options and things too. First of all, everything that you do has a repercussion from it. I've been told we need to give out more tickets, but I've also been told that we're known for giving out tickets. Why do we give out so many tickets? So then the same people that say that say people are speeding in our neighborhoods. Why are you giving out tickets? And so where does that pendulum fit, and how do you manage all of that? So I wanted to say that up front, because even though we don't do that anymore on our main roads and have someone just stationed there hour after hour after hour like it used to be in the old days, it is not anymore. Plus, there is a large variance that's given before someone gets stopped. And it's not 1 mile over, it's not 2 mile over. If someone tells you that, they're a liar, and the judge will tell you that. So it just doesn't happen. You have to be going substantially faster in order to get stopped by Los Fresnos Police Department. So I want to get that out. Currently, we're doing a 2-week study in some of these areas that we've getting complaints on. Our police officers are in unmarked vehicles, and not an unmarked police vehicle. They're an unmarked vehicle that you wouldn't think that they would be in, a minivan or whatever, just different vehicles that you don't want to know they're there. So they're shooting radar is what they're doing. We're doing it, well, I've done it 4 streets so far. East Resaca, because we get complaints on that. What people do is they're coming in from Bayview, and so they'll turn on Wasatch and go down East Resaca, turn and go to the high school, and they can avoid the stop at 2480 and 1847. Don't know why they are in that big a hurry, but nevertheless, we've done these just once, but I want to give you the stats. 18 did it in the hour or so that we looked at it on Monday. 4 of them were speeding. That's 22%. And the speeds were 34, 32, 32, and 31. So.
And what's the speed limit?
30.
30?
Anywhere in the state of Texas, if there's not a posted speed limit, it's understood that it's 30. So all of our streets in town are 30. And that's what.
Would you recommend making an ordinance to change it to 20 or 25? Or
We'll get to that. So 34, 32, 32, and 31, so not substantially over 30. Villa del Sur, it's just past Stars, turn left and go back in that subdivision. 41 in that little hour and a half time frame. 6 were speeding, which is only 15% versus the other 22%. Those 6 one of them was 31 miles an hour, another one was 41, which is, that's too fast. The other one's 31, 35, 33, and 33. Daisy Drive, which where the mayor lives, and you, right? 1 out of 19 in that time frame, and that one that was speeding was doing 31. So they probably wouldn't have been stopped anyway. So it's not substantially, it's not a substantially speeding. Valle Alto is the other one, and there's several parts, but the one we're looking at is between the new one that we connected Evergreen back to where Daisy, Easter Lily is. That traffic, it's a good 52 vehicles in that about an hour and a half. So it's more of a major roadway than a residential street, but it's still a residential street. So 52, and there was 11 of them, which is 21%, which is still the same as lower in East Resaca, just has more volume. The 10 being 34, 36, 34, 31, 31, 31, 31, 35, 36, 34, and 32. I just wanted to set that up for you at the front. Overall, the speeds are not substantially great. I challenge each one of you to do this. Stand in your front yard and ask your spouse or your friend to go in front of your house at 30 miles an hour. And I will guarantee that you will tell them that they're speeding. I don't think we understand how fast 30 miles an hour is on a residential street. So I challenge you over the next month, because we're going to bring this back with other data to show what 30 is, and you're going to be surprised, because people come to you and say, people are going so fast. It's not showing that. But what we think is fast is just about 30, about the speed limit, Terry.
Yeah, I'll send them out to California Road, south of 100.
Yeah, well, that's a different, California Road is a collector, and so that's a completely different than a residential street, so.
I'll go full transparency, Mark. There was one of those lighted speed limits on my Alvarez Road there. I actually changed the mileage to 25. I'm sorry.
So what we do when we get complaints, we have a radar trailer that we put out in those streets, and we move them around. I think it's on East Resaca right now. I'm not certain. We've moved it around, and we've gotten positive results of that, where people say, oh, I didn't pay attention. And a lot of us not paying attention. The other thing is something that y'all brought up already is, what is a speed limit? Most people don't really know, because most streets don't have it, and most people don't know the law in Texas in a residential neighborhood is 30 unless otherwise posted. The other thing that we have is, I have a letter that we have done it twice, send it out to a neighborhood. Generally speaking, the people that are speeding in a neighborhood are the people that they're your neighbors. You don't want to tell them, because you don't want to be the bad neighbor. So we tell them in a letter. Now, there is some exceptions to that. What's happening in some of East Resaca, those people are going around, I would say, via Valle Alto, that's more of a pass-through. Where Terry was mentioning, that would be more of a pass-through, not a neighborhood. So it's not all neighbors doing that. It's people that are going from one area to another. But
You need to try to put it on Nogales Street.
right, Nogales, like they're coming from Valle Alto, and so they'll cut through in front of yours. And so they're passing through, and it's not just your neighbors. But sometimes the letter does good. Another thing that we can do is stop signs, and wanted to mention that. Here about 13 years ago, there was stop signs everywhere. And the council asked me to go out and do a survey on why there's stop signs at different places. And you would go one block and a stop sign, you go one block, a stop sign, and people said, man, it takes forever to get anywhere. So what they basically did is open some of those up. And so if you'll, like the one by the post office, which is Olmo Street, if you start there, you can go to 8th Street and there's no stop sign. The next street over is Nogales. You can go and there's no stop sign, both north and south. The next one is Palma. You can go from there all the way, I think, to 10th Street, Mesquite, there all the way to 8th or 10th Street. So you have a lot of blocks that you can carry, you can go before you have to stop, and so people get going faster. So one of the options is going back and saying, okay, every other block, we're going to make people stop. That's okay. If you tell me to do that, we will do that. We have to pass an ordinance and we have to do that. But the same people that told you they're mad about people speeding will come to you and they say, mad because now I have to stop at all these stop signs. So I want you to know all ends, because that's why they were changed to begin with, is because people came to, not y'all, but the different group that was sitting there and said, all these stop signs have to stop, 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 make it a little bit easier to get around town. And so we did, and now we're here.
What about those road humps that go? Everybody's been asking for those.
I'll get to that in a minute. Some streets are not conducive to stop signs, like East Resaca. There's really no good place to put a stop sign there, and so you don't always have the ability to slow traffic with a stop sign. Reduced speed 20 and 25, Luis mentioned, is an option. We would have to do an ordinance. We would need to put up a sign and do that. Just so you know, there's 3 streets today that are 20. It's Canal from 1847 to Lopez Reagans, and Lopez Reagans to 100 on Mesquite. So Canal, Mesquite, and then Alamo Street. Alamo Street goes from 100 to 10th Street. It is also 20 miles an hour. The city back in the day made those 20 for whatever reason. There is one street that is 10 miles an hour. Anybody want to guess? No. Not yours. Hibiscus, where the housing authority is. That's, for some reason, back in the day, people made, the council decided to make that 10 miles an hour. Unfortunately, people don't know because there's no sign that we need to put up. Options, besides all of the things that we're doing already with the letters, with the moving the speed trader, is there's a digital radar sign that they say really works well, kind of what Luis was mentioning, and it looks something like this. You have the regular sign that says 35, and then below it says your speed. And it's a smaller one that just attaches to the sign, and it's done by solar powered, and it just shows your speed just for the public. And they say that has done more long-term in slowing people down. It doesn't offend them. It doesn't irritate them. It doesn't wear out their vehicles like what we're getting ready to talk about.
But like you said, 30 is still fast if you're standing there.
Right. So whether you move some of those key streets down, that's another option. Another one is children at play or watch for children. A lot of people use that. I'm basically against that, because children, we shouldn't be saying something that is kind of saying that in a roundabout way that children are going to be on the street. Our children should not be on the street. We should not allow them to be on the street. So a sign that says children at play gives you kind of a false thing that it's okay for us to let our children be in the street. It's not. It's not the place for them to play. I know when we were younger, where did we play? There was not very many people lived here back in those days, because I was here, and you could play and it might be in that street all day long and nobody would come by because there wasn't very many of us.
We can use those like in front of the parks.
Yeah.
For the,
Right.
like for the crossing for the kids, it's like.
Well, there is some places that's good, where a crossing from the Little League Park to the parking lot, because the parking lots are the other side. You're correct. The last one I'll talk about is the speed hump or speed bumps. A speed hump is more gradual. It's for a speed zone anywhere from 15 to 30 miles an hour to reduce it down to 10 to 15. A speed bump is more bigger rise, in a shorter distance. And that's to slow people down to 2 to 10 miles an hour, depending on how you do it. Considerations, problems with speed bumps, drainage. You put a speed bump and you've got to put them where it doesn't hamper drainage. We use our streets to drain water. We're flat, and so we drain water through our streets. And you say, well, just start the speed hump a little bit inside that. That's fine, but guess where people drive? I'm going to drive on that edge where at least one of my wheels doesn't have to go around that speed bump. I see it all the time. When that happens, that becomes more dangerous than the so-called speeders that we're seeing, that people aren't speeding very much, than the original problem, because they're swerving to go around or at least get 2 tires off of there. Another consideration is bicyclists. It's hard on bicyclists, it's hard on motorcyclists, pedestrians, harder in wheelchair. Yes, you don't want a wheelchair in the street, but some do on the edge. It makes it very difficult for those folks. Most people, when they do humps, they want 80% support in the neighborhood of a speed hump before they do it. The other thing is the location. Everybody wants I use this, a lift station, because you want your sewer to go away. Everybody wants one of those. They don't want it in front of their house. Same with the speed bump. Where I live, they've talked about it, and I said, fine, put it down the way a little bit. I don't want it in front of my house. Because what happens is you have people to stop and then to go after you go over the speed bump. It's people that live around them say they'll never buy a house before or right around a speed bump at all. So it's very bad as far as that. Vehicles, maintenance on vehicles, shock absorbers, people get rattles because
I know, like
Because
the
of
mayor,
how-
like the mayor mentioned, that's usually the first thing that people ask us to do, right? Cost effective, I don't know, to maintain them.
I will go back to there. The next is rubber, asphalt, concrete, and how do you do it? And then maintain, depending on if you have a speed hump, a speed bump, you have to have a sign, you have to pay so many distance away, you have to have a sign, and then you have to pay a marking on it, and you have to keep doing that and keep doing that. There's some in the county area that you have the sign and you have the speed bump right there. That's not legal. The other problem with is it has to be a certain number of feet from an intersection. Has to be 150 feet at least for an intersection. 300 feet from another hump. 600 feet from a traffic signal. From a manhole or valve cover because of the problem with that. So many feet from there. Upstream from a sewer inlet. So there becomes a huge problem. It's not just, anyway, many places, I've done tons of research. A lot of places that went with speed humps and speed bumps back in the early days, years and years ago, are now taking them out. And they're going to things like the signs, things like letters, things like additional enforcement in that neighborhood. So I'm kind of, the other piece of a speed hump, you don't want to have it by a fire hydrant. You don't want to have it, other problem with vehicles. We have a lot of vehicles that, if you remember back in the old days before they redid the road, they went to Dairy Queen. If they didn't call you, they called me many, many times because my car grounded out going just on from Highway 100 to the road there by Dairy Queen. You will get that complaint. My car doesn't make it over your hump. So the other piece, and this is what we see mostly, is the people that are driving fast will continue to drive fast. They'll just drive fast over the speed hump that you put up. And then that becomes more dangerous because now they're a little bit out of control as they're landing on the other side. So a lot to consider. There's pros to it. It does slow them down, but it causes a lot of other things for you to consider before you go that direction.
Mark, I polled, in October, I did a poll on that on Facebook, and I have a feedback page. And out of the 66 people that took the poll, 39% said they would want a speed bump or some kind of speed hump, when only 27 votes, actually 59% voted that they wanted one. 40% said they didn't want one. So it seems like the majority of the people want one, but definitely there's a lot to think about. And it's just something that keeps coming up. And they said, one of the biggest things I get is, when are you guys gonna do something before somebody gets killed? That's what they always tell us. And so, just trying to see what can work or what we can do. I know slowing down the speed limit, then people are gonna say, well, you guys just wanna give more tickets, so you're dropping the speed limit. So there's always pros and cons to everything. But I did, 60% of the people polled that they wanted something like that. 66 people answered the poll, and 60% of those wanted it. So I'm just thinking, people want something. They want something to for us to make a decision on.
There's new speed bumps that are coming up with plastic. Those are not that big, wide. They're not, that tall. They're just to slow them down. And also on what the mayor said, and also we need to do really find the area where it's more required if we use one. Like, for example, like I was saying there in the park, there's a lot of people driving so crazy there in front of the park, and there's always kids going through one side to another. Maybe little areas like that, but.
I got one question on the bumps in this. If we fail to properly maintain them, properly mark them, or signage goes bad, we don't properly maintain those, are we liable for damages if something was to happen? We would definitely be liable, right, as a city, okay.
Some of the research. I'm sorry, yes. Some of the research that I did was with that is the continual maintenance, and then the lawsuits that have ensued over, there's been lawsuits that I just don't want it there, and some have been one that have had to take them out. The other piece to the puzzle is not properly maintained, or the fact that people drive over the bumps, and they drive over the bumps now as fast as what they were driving before, and lost control and run into somebody's yard. Without the speed humps, they wouldn't have done that, theoretically. No way to prove that.
Well, Mark, I'm very impressed with the study on speed bumps. I wasn't expecting that much information, which I know, like you said, you put in a lot of work into it. Today's a discussion only kind of a deal, right? So I think it's best for us to go back and talk to our constituents and see what options that we can have so that we can help you make that decision. Obviously, something does have to be done. Maybe within the next 2 months, 3 months, we can figure something out. I agree with you on the speed humps. I always get requests on those in different areas, but I tell them the exact same thing, only because the cost effectiveness just alone. Digital signs are something that I've seen on my road that does work. And maybe even considering lowering it with those digital signs, so lowering the speed limit and having a digital sign on there may make it a little bit more aware, but I do appreciate all the work you did on this.
And
Mark-
a speed hump.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just trying to say.
Mark, will PD continue doing the study around other areas, or those are the only ones that?
Yes, we're gonna, we selected certain streets, and we're gonna do it for the rest of this week and next week, take off. It's primarily during school time hours and when you get the high traffic, so that's when we're doing them, in those high traffic volume times. So we'll continue doing that for the next 2 weeks. We'll put the data together. This was just something, I have in a spreadsheet for you to look at and kind of consider. And so, yes, once we look at those, we'll select others starting in January and maybe continue it. But I think it is interesting to know that they're not huge speeding problem. I still think that we have a problem with what we think is speeding is not speeding when we're looking at 30 miles an hour.
Yes, that's what I was gonna mention, because with all the numbers that you mentioned, it's only 2 or 3 were
Yes.
like way over what we need to be, the speed limit.
It's not significant. When you have majority of them going 30, 31, 32, and even 33, y'all don't want to be stopping people for doing that. Then you're going to have another problem. You're going to have a problem with why are they giving us tickets? And
Yeah, also, there are some signs that are way beyond some buildings. Could we go to text Todd and ask him, see if we can move forward, or they have to be certain feet from the street? Like, for example, there on Second Street in Alamo, where the bank is, you need to continue rolling. And some people have called me that they were caught rolling, but they had stopped and they continue. So, I mean, that's their excuse, but that's what they say. And some I have gone to several corners, the stop sign, you stop on the stop sign and you have to go forward because you cannot see.
on all of the stop signs that are along 100, 1847, even 2480, those are regulated by TxDOT, the location, so they have to be there. What the state law says is you stop at the stop sign where it says to stop, and then you move forward until you can properly see and stop again, and then you proceed. I can assure you that when our officers see it, when they turn their lights on, it's all recorded, and Henry can, his prosecuting hat can see that when people say I stopped, it ain't happening. I'm telling you, just because I had my own daughter and son-in-law swore to me one day that these police officers you have are terrible. We came to the sign and stopped, and my daughter, she said, I swear to you, Dad, that I stopped. And we watched the video, and they didn't hardly slow down as a stop sign. And so I feel for people, but if you stop, the police aren't going to stop you. If you inch forward again and stop, they're not going to do it, because it shows on the video, and he wouldn't prosecute it anyway.
I get that a lot, Mark. Everybody tells me to move the stop signs.
We can't.
Yeah.
As the prosecuting attorney, we used to do things differently. People would say, I'm not guilty. I stopped. I know I stopped. Okay. So we set them up for a pretrial conference, and then we set them up for a trial. That takes attorney time, staff time, court time, judge time, and it took a lot of time to get them resolved. And then we look at the video, and they go, oh, I didn't stop. Okay? So what we do different now is someone pleads not guilty, the judge says, fine, I accept your plea of not guilty, wait outside, we're going to see if we got a video. At that point in time, we pull up a video. I take a look at it as prosecutor, and I decide, do I have a good video, or is this so close that it's not going to go? And I make the decision, and then I go talk to the people. We have gone from sometimes 5 to 10 trials to most of the time 0 or 1. Probably our trial docket is down 90%, 95% because we're doing that. So we view every single one, and I mean to tell you, if there's 6 of them in every court setting that come and say, no, I stopped, I show them, no, you didn't. And they go, no, I did stop, and I turned right on red. Well, yes, but you forget the part that says you can turn right on red after a complete stop, and you don't make a complete stop. So we're clearing them up like that, a lot of those that you're talking about. And
Mark,
some of the speeders even, and this is not on stop signs, but the speeders, they say, oh, I wasn't speeding. The sign is a block and a half, or the sign was right there in front of me that said I could go to 45. And you look at the video and they're 2 blocks away. You know, they either got very good vision or they're just not being honest. And so that's what we're doing in the courts with the judge and myself and the court staff.
Mark, I used to work for the Department of Public Safety. I was a driver's license examiner in Brownsville. I did that for 3 years. And I remember when I gave all those hundreds and hundreds of driving tests, I always tell people when you stop, as long as you can see the word stop, then you're free to move forward. Now, if you can't see the traffic, yeah, you move forward, but you got to be able to stop where you can read the word stop. If you stop and the stop sign's back here, then you're already citation. So that's what you said was correct.
One other thing about the stop, so everybody understands, you go, well, how do they see it all the time? They're pretty good at watching, and if you'll start watching people, you'll see nobody stops at a stop sign. Nobody does.
I see it all the time.
Very, very few do. But what happens when our videos now, they're always in a 30-second queue. So that 30-second queue is continue to record and continue to drop off, continue recording and continue to drop off. So it's always recording. When he flips the light on, it starts saving that. It doesn't drop off anymore. So it has 30 seconds prior to that time. So then that's how he can see whether they stopped at actually stopped or not. And I can assure you that most of the time they don't stop. It's just the way it is.
How many
Why people
seconds?
don't-
How many seconds is a complete stop? 2 or 3 seconds?
I suggest to them 3.
3 seconds.
Stop sign, 1001, 1002.
Or 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi.
Left, look right, look left again, and that's about 3 seconds. It's not gonna.
It's supposed to be 3 seconds, so yeah, you're right. Awesome. Great.
If you have somebody going to labor, you're gonna go that stop sign.
Well, you know, the officers always ask them, you know, I stopped you because you're going 45 in the 30. Is there a reason for that? And they'll say, oh, yeah, I have a medical emergency. Oh, okay. You know, or they'll give a reason, you know, I got to go to the bathroom. That one's very frequent, you know. And they ask, the officers ask. It's not just, I've never had anyone say, I'm a medical doctor, I'm on my way to an emergency, and the officer just took his time about writing the ticket. Never happened.
That's all on speeding, and it's not easy as just to throw up a speed hump. There's a lot to consider and a lot to decide on. So if people would just follow the law, we probably wouldn't have a problem.
Well, at least we all agree that there's maybe something that we got to start thinking about to address that issue. Any more questions or discussion on speed or? All
One
right.
more thing from me, and I'll be quiet. I'd like to invite you all again, come to the municipal court. Come and spend an hour and see what's happening in your city. You'll see, you know, a lot of what's going on doesn't involve our local citizens. This is a pass-through place, you know. There's a lot of traffic that goes through here. It's very important for our citizens that we keep them under control. But come to the municipal court and you'll see what's going on.
What day is it, Friday?
Municipal court is Wednesday from 4 to 5:30. But Judge Daniels is usually here early, and we usually start about 3:30.
Thank you.
If you come an hour, you'll be pleasant.
Thank you for the invite. Moving forward, for the sake of time, acknowledgement of city managers' reports. Any questions or follow-ups or?
Only 2 things I'd like to mention is K&L, water funding. You know, we continue to look for funding for water projects In 2016, we did a system-wide study, and that's why a lot of projects have been done. Some of our old water lines need to be replaced, upgraded, and that's to the tune of as much as 13 million. We're hoping that it won't be that much, but we have been offered funding through Texas Water Development Board, either some grant forgiveness, or they call it loan forgiveness or low-interest loans. So we'll be responding to that, and that'll be coming over the next few months. The other piece to that is wastewater. We're replacing a lot of manholes and a lot of wastewater lines that are, again, old and need upgrading, and that's to the tune of about 5.8 million through that same study. And we'll be looking at those. There's a lot of that we've already done on the sewer side. So we'll be, between now and December 28th, we have to decide exactly where it is and then send them a notice, yes, we're going to formally apply for those funds. But I wanted you to be aware, it's just funding that we're looking at, continuing to upgrade. When you borrow that kind of money, even if it's low interest, it affects water rates. Just telling you that. I know that y'all don't like to hear that, but we can do like a lot of other cities do. They kick the can down the road. I live here. I was born here. I'm going to die here. So I don't kick cans down the road. I tell you the way it is. So we have to pay now. It's unfortunate, but water is still cheap in Los Fresnos, even though it's more expensive than some places. You buy a bottle of water for $2, we'll sell you 1,000 gallons of water for $4. So it's still very cheap. And I believe in doing rehab as we go. There's a lot of cities that are so millions and millions and millions. I think you heard over $100 million in Harlingen, and they got low water rates. They have all this repairs they need to do, they have no way to pay for it. So I challenge you to think big, and those things we got to look at, but it's a cost to do those things. You can kick the road down, you can kick the can down for the next council to deal with it, but somebody's going to have to deal with it, and I'm in favor of us dealing with our own problems as they come.
I know.
That's really all I have on.
Just real quick on that, Mark, I know you had mentioned, I know when we took a ride to the water plant, I don't know, 2 years ago or something like that, I know there's a reservoir areas across from our water plant, or that flood little plain that we had considered maybe using or to hold back water, stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah, we definitely should start looking at ways that we can use whatever lands we do have or can get a hold of to continue growing our ability to provide waters for our city citizens.
Yes, working on still reclamation of sewer water, and nobody likes to talk about that, but that solves it just like that, your water problem.
Mark, I wanted to congratulate the city for the wonderful light display that is done, thanks to the help of the CDC. I know that we have a really nice showcase of a sled out there with a boot, and we got a really nice big Christmas tree. I really can feel the vibe when you go there, the Christmas vibe. You go to the park, and you see the Santa sleigh and all of that. One thing, though, I'd love as an addition to that is, you know, I drove through Port Isabel the other day, and I saw that they had these red bows that were out on every single palm tree. And then they had these Santa Claus little boots that are at the different poles. And in driving around the town, if it wasn't for City Hall or the park, there's really no Christmas life in this town. And so I just thought it'd be nice to maybe one day in the near future, don't even know how expensive a bow could be to maybe put on a pole or a palm tree just to kind of direct the traffic as far as Highway 100, and especially in these key high trafficked areas. You know, I just think that if it wasn't for the city, there wouldn't be a lot of Christmas decorations out there.
Just to go on that, Mayor, I don't know, since we're doing these awards now, have we considered a like
a business award
or a community where they can sign up and we can say this is the house of Christmas for this year because they decorated their home? Christmas wise, then we can do a little competition and have people submit their homes for this competition. And as either a committee or council members, we can vote on the house that is most festive.
I like that
guess.
idea, and we just talked about that for businesses, making, maybe give a little award for the business that has the most, the nicest decorations, because if you drive around, you'll look at like the Cameron County building, there's no lights on there. You know, you'll drive around at State Farm, there's no lights on there. You drive down all the buildings and nobody has anything up, so it'd be nice if, you know, Chamber, CDC, you know, we could kind of come up with some kind of small thing maybe for next year where kind of get more people involved, either residents or business owners. Just an idea. That's all I had to say. I just really like some of the, great.
Go ahead and approve the city manager's.
Did you acknowledge and second? All right. Acknowledgement is made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Acknowledgement of department head reports. Any particular item anybody would like to discuss?
Make a motion, we accept all the department head reports.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Well, it has been a great evening. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. 8:01.